Join us now to give a quick response to that. North East UKIP MEP Jonathan Arnott. So Nick Clegg there making a fairly strong case for a soft Brexit. What do you think, Jonathan?
I can't understand why it is that constantly we see those who supported Remain in the referendum coming up with more and more ways to try to water down what Brexit means, trying to come up with ways of suggesting that our hand would be as weak as possible in negotiations. Do they not realise that if you go down that route and start saying negatives constantly in the media, that our opponents in negotiation will use that back against us?
I didn't hear any negative tone there. All I heard was Nick Clegg saying he wants to protect our farmers, to protect the food processors. What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with wanting to protect farmers, protect the food processors. Of course, everybody will want to do that. But actually, he's talking about actively trying to delay Brexit. Frankly, it is sabotaging our future to do so. But let's have a look at this, because firstly, I look, for example, at Tate and Lyle, who are a big sugar producer, who are a British company who actually actively supported Brexit. And they said last year EU restrictions and tariffs pushed our raw material costs up by nearly 40 million euros, turning what should have been a good profit that we would all share into a 25 million euro loss. We pay as much as 3.5 million euros of import tariffs to the European Union on some of the boats of cane sugar that are loaned on our refinery, only for the EU to then send that money to subsidise our beet sugar producing competitors in Europe. So
if we go for a hard Brexit, can you guarantee we won't have to pay more for what's in our shopping baskets?
Well, we should end up paying less in a lot of ways, because of course the goods that we currently buy from the European Union, we're effectively paying more than we would be paying on world markets.
Could you guarantee that?
Well, I can't guarantee what Theresa May is going to do, of course, and that is always the difficult part. Not being the government in these negotiations, because I can't guarantee what they're going to do. I would expect that prices should on food go down, but of course, with absolutely anything in this debate, it does depend to an extent on the deal you negotiate. Now, what we should be trying to do is negotiating a deal not as Nick Clegg was talking about on World Trade Organization terms. That should be very much a last resort. What we should be looking to do is find ways of having a free trade deal with the European Union. Now, I would say that doesn't mean membership of the single market. Ideally, I would like us to have access to the single market, and what exactly that means in terms of negotiation is somewhat difficult. But ultimately, the minimum that we should be looking for is a trade deal which has zero tariff access.
More on this.
The European Union would want that, because we buy more from them than they buy from us. So
much more on this after 9. We're going to be talking this and exploring this after 9 for a full hour. Thanks, Jonathan, on that. But can I ask you a quick question about the UKIP leadership while we've got you? And we're hearing this morning that UKIP might not have a new leader before next year. The party's chairman said it may not be possible to elect a new leader before Christmas. So Farage going to remain interim leader for several more months. Is this a torturous disaster for your party?
Well, I've not yet heard the party chairman's comments on that. I would imagine that we'll know an awful lot more about this by the end of the day, because the party's National Executive Committee will be meeting today to discuss that timescale. What
would you like to see happen?
I think the sooner it can be dealt with, the better, because I think the longer that uncertainty goes on, the harder it is to make sure that everybody is united and getting on with the job that we should be doing in UKIP.
Is Paul Nuttall your man, or would you throw your hat in the ring again yourself?
I certainly wouldn't stand against Paul. He's somebody who has absolutely immense experience. So if Paul goes for him, then I will back him 100%.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's 10 to 9.